Of all the battle royale games on the market, H1Z1 takes the cake as the most rocky, confusing, and depressing story of all of them. Once touted as a fun and competitive shooting game, years of constant turmoil and irresponsible game development wounded H1Z1 beyond repair. It's now an abandoned, cheater-filled, broken online game. Its player base has all but dried up, many of its players resent those that developed it, and its name is associated with tragedy. Worse, those loyal to the game have moved on to its competition, two giant games that rose up and put the final nail in its coffin. Somewhere out there, H1Z1 is buried in the ground alongside gaming's most infamous screw-ups. Some would say it's a game of great potential, undeserving of the treatment it got. Today we're going to explore the history surrounding this fascinating tale, discover where everything went wrong, and answer gaming's greatest question: did it fail? H1Z1 was developed by Sony Online Entertainment and released into Steam's Early Access program in January of 2015. It featured two game modes, Survival and Battle Royale. Much like DayZ, H1Z1's Zombie Survival mode was a persistent open world meshed with PvP gameplay. Groups of players would compete with one another for resources, RDM, and survival. Although the gaming environment at the time was a gusto match of H1Z1 versus DayZ, they both branched out from Arma, yet H1Z1 stuck out more than DayZ simply because of the selling point and those words, Battle Royale. H1Z1's Battle Royale mode was a fast-paced shooting game where players battled it out until only one remained, designed in part by Brendan Green, who would later go on to create PUBG. Those two game modes comprised the single game of H1Z1. 1 year later, H1Z1 was split up into two games when Sony Online Entertainment was bought out by investors and renamed Daybreak Game Company. The Zombie mode became H1Z1 Just Survive, and the Battle Royale mode became H1Z1 King of the Hill. In August of 2017, H1Z1 Just Survive would again be renamed to simply Just Survive. Somewhere along the line, H1Z1 King of the Hill was also renamed to H1Z1 King of the Kill, and then back to simply H1Z1. So you got all that? What an absolute mess. Early on, H1Z1's vanilla Battle Royale mode was incredibly fun. Yeah, it was hella buggy, but for one of the first major Battle Royale games to see mass appeal, it was definitely a success. Most early players will feel very sentimental towards H1Z1's vanilla quirks, one-pump shotgun rushing, the dolphin dive, jumping clear over players, and the unique two-tap to kill gameplay mechanic. It grabbed players, and many of them absolutely loved it. You could play with friends and they made it better, and you were rewarded any way you played, something that was changed later on. Fueled by the popularity of streamers like Dr. Disrespect and Ninja, H1Z1 took off, and it looked like the success was never gonna let up. All it needed was to be continually worked on and have those bugs ironed out, and H1Z1 was surely gonna be a winner. But that didn't happen. In the years to come, H1Z1 would be mishandled by its new development company, Daybreak. Instead of fix and improve on the game, they instead rehauled it during one of the major patches. Basically, it took what made the game special to the majority of its player base and flipped it on its head. Many notable changes included, but are not limited to, deleting the current map and replacing it with what many people thought was a less superior version, increasing the saturation of the game, which made the lighting worse, leading to new players finding it difficult to pick up items in dark places, a retooling of the interface to make it more flashy than functional, and a rehaul of the game's reward systems that really didn't need rehauling. But the most shocking were the changes to the actual gunplay and the gameplay, especially with the H1Z1 combat update. To alleviate major concerns that the game was turning into a spray fest, Daybreak released a massive patch that was, in a sense, another relaunch of the core gunplay and the movement systems in the game. But in reality, it was more of a moment of panic to compete with the rising success of PUBG's early access launch. It seemed like every single major system in the game took a nasty hit: assault rifle spray, bullet drop, recoil, and the spread of each weapon. Instead of adding predictable recoil patterns like a CSGO, they instead opted for what people call a bloom system, making shots no longer predictable under recoil, basically spraying wildly at random. No amount of compensation can hold this kind of behavior in check. Veteran players saw this revision and others through the years as insulting and a reversion of what made this game so compelling and competitive. Wars started flaming and burning all over Reddit, cheaters ran rampant, and PUBG's success continued without check. All the while, Daybreak sat on the sidelines and refused to fix the game, let alone communicate a plan to do so. Desolation seemed imminent. Players were leaving. China banned live streaming, which vastly impacted the international side of H1Z1, and the community was divided. Already in decline and turmoil, the end was coming for H1Z1. Despite the 8.1 million H1Z1 owners on Steam, it's a ghost town out there. H1Z1 peaked at a massive 150,000 players June of 2017 after it recovered from a mild downturn brought on by PUBG. But after the July update, players had had enough. Massive amounts of players began leaving as improvements to PUBG were rolling out and the brand new Fortnite released. Today, less than 4,500 players were playing H1Z1 and that trend is going ever downward. Fortnite is causing quite the stir, and it has even beat out PUBG with its highest concurrent player counts of 3.4 million. Compare that to the 4,500 players playing H1Z1 and the downward trend spiraling out of control, and it's clear that H1Z1 is most likely never going to recover. Many people blame the exodus of H1Z1 players to these two games, that the game couldn't compete with the pressure of these giant battle royale games. But that's not really why H1Z1 failed. H1Z1 was a game that killed itself. It was mishandled by the game development studio that made it and left out to rot in the blistering wasteland of early access. Its strange and bewildering journey through that hell is a display of what not to do when releasing a new video game. Day one bugs never ironed out, new content lost in the wind replaced by an asinine amount of changes that alienated players, infrastructure that enables cheating and then fails to control it, and a lack of communication and respect to the community of players who actually support the game. Whatever the reason though, it simply did not get finished. Today, games of H1Z1 start up with handfuls of players, queue times are long, and we see the same faces each game. If you're a new player to H1Z1, you're only going to get matched up against skilled royalty players, and they will destroy you because that's all who is left playing H1Z1. But the most ironic part is that the game makers themselves clearly didn't give a crap about giving H1Z1 a chance to succeed. Maybe they didn't have to. H1Z1 made more money in its early access run than most other games out there while putting in half the work. Instead of properly support it, they made promises that they didn't deliver on and they left it out to die a slow and painful death. Let H1Z1 be a lesson that we should be cautious of unfinished early access games. It's a deserted game that didn't fail the circumstance. It delivered the killing blow to itself. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you have an opinion on H1Z1 or maybe PUBG or Fortnite or this whole battle royale business, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to hear your opinion. And have a great day. We'll see you guys in our next video.